Welcome, everyone, to episode 8 of the Distance Learning Playbook Unpacked. This week, we are talking about a couple tools, Kahoot, Mindmeister, and Quizlet, and how you might use them in your class to increase engagement and excitement for your students.
No special guest today, so it's just the two of us. We're looking forward to bringing somebody back next week, but for now, it's just the Dustin and Cassidy show, and we're just hoping to give you a couple of ideas for ways that you will increase engagement in your synchronous time.
Just us? I don't know. I think we're kind of special.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Well, this episode will be the test of that.
Fair enough.
All right, so let's start by talking about what the Distance Learning Playbook has to say, because the Distance Learning Playbook has a section on engagement opportunities. And they break it down into 4 categories in which you might think about using tools. Finding information, using information, creating information, and sharing information. And here's what I like about that. I think that sometimes we see a tool or a gadget and we're like, oh, that looks cool. And before we talk about and think about how cool it is, we probably need to ask what purpose would it serve. So if you find a cool feature, I think that this list helps us decide, is it worth our time to use it? Is it worth our students' time to get them to teach them how to use it? If it serves one of these purposes, yes. And likely it's going to increase engagement, but we're at this point really walking that balance between things that are easy enough to use, but that also foster engagement. And so I think it's also important to be selective, right, about which things we're willing to try with our students and what we're building into our repertoire of engagement tools to use during our synchronous time.
Yeah. And I'm looking at this list and I'm realizing that I don't think we have anything that's really going to be useful for finding information. Like the 3 tools that we're showing today will not be used for that unless you've got an idea.
Well, it's funny you say that, Dustin, because the Distance Learning Playbook actually recommends 3 tools for finding information, and those are the tools that we're going to be talking about today.
Really? Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yep. I know.
Well, let's get into it. Let's see if we can figure it out then, I guess.
Yeah, let's take a look.
All right. So the first one is Kahoot. And I know a lot of people have done Kahoots in their class when back pre-COVID. And it's fun. I've done it in my class. Students, well, I should say a certain set of students tend to love Kahoot. It's the ones that like competition. They like the high energy aspect of it. And I do think that part is pretty cool. The thing that I don't like about Kahoot is that it really encourages speed. And a lot of students will go be a little bit more inaccurate just to try to get the click as fast as possible, because you get more points the faster you are. And so I like more thoughtfulness to it. And so what I tell my students when I do in a Kahoot is to make sure that I'm going to assess their progress on their accuracy, but whoever wins the game is based on the speed part of it. And so it's... Yeah, I try to encourage them, like, make sure you go for accuracy over speed. But if you can do it faster, then great. That's awesome.
And, I've used Kahoot before. Even I have used Kahoot before. And I guess I really wouldn't use it as an assessment tool. I would use it as an engagement tool because it really is a game, right? It's a game with some learning opportunities embedded within it. But I don't necessarily see it as a genuine tool for teaching or assessment. Do you?
Interesting. I do. It's been a great formative assessment for me. I wouldn't say necessarily for an individual student, but just to like, how are we doing on this vocabulary? How are we doing on these concepts?
Yeah.
Are we generally there? But it's like it's a way to sneak in a test for them, a formative quiz, right? Because it's like they think they're having fun, and I get to see whether or not, and I'm not going to take it as like, oh, if they're 72% accurate, then that means
I see what you're saying.
Losing.
Yeah.
But I get a general sense of where they're at. So
it gives you an opportunity to just see where they're at. You wouldn't actually grade the work that they're doing.
No. But I would give them, like, basically the way I always did it was that if a student is getting around 25%, then I know that they're just guessing every time. So then they don't get credit for that activity. But if they're getting at least 50%, then I know that they're right half the time, and that means they are trying and engaging. And oftentimes I know the students well enough. And so, is that the student, if a student that typically does really well with vocabulary and content and really knows their stuff, and they're getting 50%, I'm having a conversation with them. It's like, hey, what happened? Were you just screwing off that day, or what's going on? And that way I get a sense of it. Yeah, no, I like it.
Well, good. Knowing how much time our teachers are spending right now grading and giving feedback to students, I would think in distance learning, I would only recommend using this as an engagement tool and as a way for you to just quickly see kind of where your students are in terms of your content. Totally. Can we take a look at it? I can't really remember what it actually even looks like.
And the last one over here I do want to talk about quickly is just that it can be just for fun too, because we need to have some fun right now.
Yeah.
We did the one about the taking care of yourself, social emotional health, self-care. Thank you. And sometimes we just need to have fun. We were talking with a teacher yesterday who's kind of like, I'm trying to do all this content and it just feels like a grind. It's like, have some fun. Just do something goofy. Give them a reason to come. All right. So when you go Kahoot, so one thing that's important to know is that there's two different places to go for Kahoots. One of them is Kahoot.com, and the other one is Kahoot.it.
Oh.
And Kahoot.it, or it, is where students will go to enter their game pin and get in. Okay. Whereas nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Oops, now I'm messing up. Nope, never mind. See, I can't see my stuff. I gotta get my meeting controls out of the way. There we go.
Every teacher can relate to you in these moments, Dustin.
Speaking of which, there is a way I just discovered today how to hide those controls at the top so you can actually see your tabs. If you don't know how to do it, come into our Thursday.
I don't know how to do it.
Well,
You're gonna have to show me. Okay.
Thursday at 3. That's what we're doing next week. We're gonna show people how to hide those meeting controls.
Great. I can't wait.
So once you're in at Kahoot.com, it will. This takes you to a different one, like Create, because I'm a teacher and I'm logged in. And I can go to my home. This is my home page here. And it's kind of busy. I mean, that's one thing that I've found.
Super busy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. And I think it's something, I think it's about trying to get you to buy stuff. And so actually upgrade your plan. And here's all the things you can do. Woo. But the key ones are up here across the top in the purple. That's really what you want to go. Discover is where you can search for anything. So I want to do see what somebody's created about fractions, right? Here's 3rd grade fractions. No, that's not what I want. I'm a 7th grade teacher, so I can go to this level thing here, click on 7th grade, and apply that filter. Bam, now they're all 7th grade ones.
Cool.
If I type in fraction, it pretty much knows that it's math, but I could also just say that I want to apply, elementary math. Maybe it's algebra level, right? Or I want both of them to see what shows up. And then, again, they're going to give us this up here. So I love that. I know. It's really nice. So you open it up. You can review the questions. Okay, here are the questions. Interesting. Got it. Okay. You know what? I want this one. And so I can use this play button. And then, then we can, do I want to play it? Do I want to sign it? So I guess I've never done this part. Assign a challenge game to learners who played at their own pace.
Oh, so you could use that for your asynchronous work.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So a couple more things I want to show off. One was that you can create your own, right? So you can click this little create button up here, even though that's kind of hidden. You can click create, and you can create your own. So if you had your own questions and everything, you can set how much time is on all those. So that's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Which is what I did at home. You can go to, if you go to this Kahoots tab here, these are all the Kahoots that you have created yourself. And so these are all different ones that I've made. And, sometimes I got fancy and put an image in there, but most of the time I didn't, right? So here's just some review questions that I had for my students. And again, we can play it in the moment. So if you click on teach, it's going to be something that's live that happens. And then students will, like this is the classic, each student will need their own device, and they could use it's like ideal if they have another device like a phone or an iPad or something like that. But if they don't, they can play it on here. And then they get to engage and have fun with that. So that's kind of a fun little thing to do. And then at the end, this is where the reports thing comes in. And
Oh,
so you can actually
okay.
see how people did. And so this was a
I
review I
see.
did before a test. And I can see, okay, here's 72% correct. And so it
Nice.
tells
I
me we're doing
see.
pretty good, right?
Okay. I see more what you were saying about using it as a formative assessment now that
Yeah.
you are showing me this. Okay. Got it. Got
And
it.
it
I'm with
will
you now.
also say, like, here are the difficult questions. So this particular question, only
Right.
26 people got it right. 26%.
Oh, I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
so it gives me
Okay.
that sense. And then I can look at individual players and see all my percentages for each person.
Oh,
And you
cool.
can also
Okay.
see by each question, 100% of people got this one right. And here are the ones that are lower percentage. So it's pretty
Okay.
easy to get some pretty good reports. And I do encourage you, one of the things, if you're going to do a Kahoot, I do encourage throwing in some questions that have nothing to do with the content you're teaching at all, right? Just to be funny. So I did Dawson's favorite food. That was the question that I threw in there. And I did like pizza and cat food and
Oh, cat
very
food.
large ears of corn,
Mm. Hmm.
just for fun. And
Yeah.
yeah, anyways, so they don't actually know if I'm going to be goofy and say cat food or whatever. So then it kind of adds this element of,
Keep them guessing.
yeah, and anybody can be
Yeah.
successful at that question. So they just
Right.
don't know.
Yeah. That's cool. I
So
like that.
anyways, I think that's kind of fun. So that's Kahoot. Let's just call it.
I love it.
It's pretty
I
cool.
love
It's
it.
pretty easy.
I
to
would
manage.
definitely use that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, my big disadvantage is that it encourages speed, and it really is about trying to get the fastest response time possible.
Right. Well, I like that though that you have the option for them to do it asynchronously.
That is something
So
I would
I
like
didn't
to
know
check out
about
more.
that.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
That's neat.
All right. Would you
All
talk
right.
about Mindmeister?
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So Mindmeister. So I went in and I checked it out. And basically, Mindmeister is online, like mind mapping or brainstorming. So they're graphic organizers, essentially. And so I could see you could definitely use it in real time, like in Zoom. You could have one up and you could be using it for brainstorming. You can also share the link and students can be adding to it. So in that regard, it's sort of similar to like a Jamboard or a Padlet. It just looks a little bit fancier and more professional. So you could also use it asynchronously by sharing a link and students could be contributing. Maybe they were doing group note taking on something they had read. So you could have them doing that in real time or you could have them doing that asynchronously. So I do like that. They're fancy graphic organizers. So if you pay for it, and it's not that expensive, I think that the initial upgrade is $4.99 a month, but I mean, I'm not going to pay for anything, but for another person, they might be like, that's not that much money. Then you can upload videos and images. So that's kind of a cool feature. And if you look at, when we go in and we look at, you'll see that some of them look really beautiful and professional. So features, it's an interactive way for students to share a brainstorm or note taking or discussion notes, right? We definitely want to encourage students to be interacting with each other. So it's a tool that will allow for that in your Zoom or Meet time. It's pretty easy to share. You just share it with a link. Students don't need an account, so I like that. And then they can comment on other people's notes or items that they've posted in the brainstorm. They can up and they can downvote, so that makes it even more interactive. And then there's a free super short tutorial for students, which I did and I liked. It was funny, it was kind of engaging. I mean, as engaging as these things can be. But I like that that's free and it's on the site. So if you're going to use this with students, you just have them do this quick tutorial and then they know how to do it. It has some limitations. The free account is pretty basic. It's called the basic account. And so you can only save 3 maps at a time. You can do real-time collaboration by sharing the link and you have access to their email support team, but you can't really do, I think, some of the features that would make this worth its while. It's definitely, well, when we go in and look at it, I think you're going to see it looks more businessy, I want to say, than education. Like if I'm like a CEO and I'm going to be delivering a presentation on my company, maybe I'm going to take the time to use Mindmeister. I'm not sure as a teacher in CDL, I'm going to have the time for this. I'm also not convinced, you guys. I'm not convinced that like brainstorming and mind mapping isn't something that can be done on a piece of paper and held up old school. I know that this goes against so many things that we talk about with interactive technologies, but I really, watching my own kids experience CDL, I do think there's some value to putting the pencil to the paper. And so I think brainstorming and mind mapping are opportunities for people to do that. Okay, and then my final limitation is I have a question, and the question is, can it be done by a kid on a phone in a car, right? Is this something that we necessarily need a tech tool for? Or is this something that we might say, hey, we know that mind mapping, we know that graphic organizers are a great scaffold for students. So let's figure out a way to make this as accessible as possible. I'm not convinced that that is Mindmeister, but let's take a look at it because they are really beautiful.
And I think
and the site,
talking about your the idea about pencil to paper, I think that's great when it's an individual. So if an individual is brainstorming, pen to paper, great. It's when you're trying to be collaborative, that's where these tools kind of come into place.
Yeah, and I think, Jamboard is probably easier to use than this. It's not going to be as pretty, but I think it's going to serve a similar purpose. So, okay, so we go in, and what's cool, there are these templates that you can use. So you can build your own map. They're pretty easy to build. Even I could figure out how to do it. Or you can, and they're always going to try to get you to upgrade. Like, that's the thing. Like, this is corporate design here. So you can choose a template. You can be like, no, maybe later.
The templates though are all
free, so. I actually couldn't get any of the templates to work. So I think that you have to upgrade. It's a little like, I was like, okay, what do I get for free here? And this was one that the Distance Learning Playbook recommended by name, right? They recommended this one. And so I guess I just expected it to have some more free features because I tend to think of teaching as a place where we don't want you all spending your own money on things. Right. And maybe your district is like, sure, $4.99 a month, have at it. And if that's the case, you might want to check this out. But for those of us,
it's really prominent, but to actually make it a mind map, you click on this one up here.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, because I already have my.
You already have one. Yep.
That's what's going on here.
So now you can only go back into your 3. Yeah.
Move this to the trash.
Yep.
Now maybe can I use an order?
Nope.
Oh, I can.
Oh, you can. Oh, great.
Allow me to do that. So
cool. Well, then that was the problem I was having. Okay. Yeah.
Once you got 3, you can't do more, but you can. At least you can delete the old ones. Take a picture of it, screenshot.
Yeah.
Save that, delete it, and now you can get another one going on.
Yeah, you can. And so, I think that it would be. I don't know, I could see using this in like a whole class brainstorm, and especially if you shared the link and had students contributing to it. I think that it looks nice, it's kind of fun. So if you were just looking for another tool to use for doing something like that, Mindmeister might be for you. I got really excited when I was poking around the site because they have a whole section on education. And so I was really looking for something like what you just showed me in Kahoot, right? Where I can level it. I can choose the subject and then I can level it because I love stuff like that, right? It streamlines our searching for materials so much. But if you go back and you look at their education stuff.
Where's the education stuff?
Well, like I said, I found their site kind of hard. I think, is it down at the bottom? I also had trouble scrolling through the site, which I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
Go to public. Go to public.
There we go.
And then scroll down, or maybe browse that. Yeah, perfect. So look, there's a whole section that says education, business, life, productivity. Like, right, this is clearly not designed like for education. So I got excited though. I clicked on the education, and then it's like giving me this Luke Skywalker in French. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Why would I need this? Maybe there's a French teacher out there who's like, yes, finally, like my Luke Skywalker graphic organizer is here for me. And that's cool. If that's you, here you go. You're welcome. But for the rest of us, I was a little disappointed because I kept looking for something in that education category that would be useful. And it's very, I don't know. So maybe I'm missing something. Maybe the Distance Learning Playbook knows something that I am not seeing here, but I'm just pretty sure that this site was not designed by teachers for teachers. So my review of Mindmeister is, if you are a person and you have an extra $4.99 a month and you really want all of your graphic organizers to be beautiful, or maybe you're a French teacher who focuses on Star Wars, Mindmeister is for you. For the rest of us, I'm not convinced. I gotta say, I'm not convinced that I would actually use Mindmeister.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. All right, well, let's talk about our third one, Quizlet. Quizlet's kind of a cool little one. I've actually used Quizlet personally when I was trying to learn vocabulary. So I had my vocab list. It was for my karate class, and I had to learn all my Japanese terms and all the names of things and histories and dates. So yeah, it's kind of cool because you can go through and it's good vocabulary review. I think it is really nice. It's not something that's going to be that you can use in Zoom, for example. It's like not a synchronous thing. It's going to be an asynchronous thing, and it's really just for recall.
Because it's basically they're just flashcards, right?
Yeah,
Quizlets are just flashcards. Okay.
Yeah,
It's funny. I think
basic.
And you and I grew up in a time where like flashcards was really one of the only strategies we were given for learning, right?
Sure.
And so I think that like people our age are like, oh yes, flashcards, like they're so great. And they are for like some people, right? Some people really actually can use flashcards and that's a useful tool for their learning. But that's not true for everybody. So I think Quizlet probably is a way to make flashcards more as engaging as they possibly could be. I'll just say that.
Right. So you can create your own deck by clicking on this one, and you can just put in your questions and all the answers and definitions. So that's kind of nice. Or you can also search. So if you wanted to do math terms, right, whatever it is, and somebody's probably done it. So here's Kaplan GMAT math terms and PCAT and all that kind of stuff. So so there are ways to get ones that are pre-made. You can also share with people. So if you create a set, you can share that set with somebody else, that kind of stuff. So
it looks like the sets have reviews.
Yep. Yeah, they even have ratings on there.
Cool.
Yeah. Like this one only has 3 reviews, but
so I mean, might use a different one then. Anything to streamline the process for teachers.
There you go. And then when you go and you actually are when you go to study it, then like I want to know buoyancy. What's the definition of buoyancy? And this is a real self-assessment, so it's not going to be something that will record whether or not you've got it. But then if I think I know that buoyancy is something about how a boat flows on top of the water, and then I look at this, the tendency for something to float on top of the water or another fluid. Okay. Then, and let's see, where is it? I can't see it here. There's a way to say, like, I know this one, and I don't. And for some reason, maybe I'm in the edit version. Oh, here it is. So you go to the Learn. I usually use this on my phone. There's an app for it. That's pretty good. And so, got it. Okay, I'm going to go through these things. Physical property. I think that we're talking about state of matter here. Okay, woo, got it right.
Oh, cool.
And so it'll actually just keep telling you, what does it always be? Oh, no, okay, I need to study this one. So then the ones I get right will go to one set, and then the ones I get wrong will be saved for me to go through and review again.
Did the you need to study that one, was that really in red with a mad face? Okay, I have some questions about that. Otherwise, like, I'm good with that.
Yeah, so, and this is too long for me to do this. I'm just kind of, I'm not even reading it, right? But a bunch of them will be right and some of them will be wrong. And then at the end, I'll be able to review the ones I got wrong. So it is a nice little recall tool. And then your set that you got wrong will get smaller and smaller and smaller. And then once you get them all done, you go back and you go try to relearn the whole thing again and see if you got lucky the first time. These are multiple choice. You don't have to have multiple choice. You can also have them just be a long answer, and then you say whether or not you know it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. It's a good set for students. If there's vocabulary they need to learn, then it's good.
How do they get it? So I make it or I find the one I want, and how do I get it to my students?
It's a good question. So here, if I go into this physical science, then I can, where is it? Is it here? Share, right there, that little button.
Okay.
Click on that, and then I can either give them a link, or I can actually share it on Google Classroom too. So
I love that.
Teacher, I just click that and put it into my class.
Okay.
It'll ask me to log in to.
Or if I'm using Remind or MS Teams. Cool. Oh, I like that. Okay. Great.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool little system.
I liked the pictures because I feel like, you know, for so many students, just having that additional layer of support with the picture, right? Because for me, you know, buoyancy, I mean, I know what it is, but like that's not a term I'm necessarily super interested in. No offense to you as a science teacher, but I'm more of a reluctant science learner. But the boat, right? Like well, maybe that's true. Though, Mr. Heidi, if you're out there, if you're still alive, Mr. Heidi, you were the best biology teacher I could have possibly met.
Nice. That's
you were awesome. Yeah.
Good. And the other thing that I just want to mention too is you can edit a set that you get from somebody else. So if you don't like their definition, or if you want to add a card or delete a card, you can also do that too. So.
Okay, I love it. It looks really much more user-friendly to me than the Mindmeister. And, you know, I gotta say, and this is just a bias of mine coming through, I feel like when teachers and people in education design things for education, like they streamline it, right? Because we don't have time for some of those things. So anyway, that just looks to me much more teacher and user-friendly.
If you're gonna create your own, it's not, I mean, it takes time. It's a time-intensive thing to create.
Sure.
So just be mindful of that.
That makes sense.
But maybe you only give them 10 questions or 10 vocab terms, right? And just keep it really short and simple.
That makes sense. All right. Well, if you're interested in coming to one of our clinics, we could build a Quizlet. We could build a Kahoot. We could build a Mindmeister. It might take longer than an hour, but we could do it. It could be done.
Yeah, because the other thing is that Mindmeister is great and all, but you can do basically all that on Jamboard. It's not quite as pretty, but you can,
I think so.
Do that same kind of stuff on Jamboard. So,
yeah. So if you want to build a Jamboard, we're here for you. Thursdays between 3 and 4. So drop in anytime.
Awesome. Take care, everybody.
All right. Take care. See you next week.